Hi there folks, welcome back to Rich Reviews. I want to thank everyone who's been subscribing to this channel. I want to thank everyone who's been watching the videos. I want to thank everyone who's been commenting on these videos. Help me get the least viewed films with more views. That'd be awesome, folks. After these last two films that I will be reviewing, we'll be doing the best and worst films of the year. Worst films of the year first, because who doesn't want to shit upon those films one more time before we get to the best films of the year. So that's really awesome. So in the latest of the films that didn't make much money, didn't get widely released in the year, that found a way onto the internet, the latest one of these is The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and this is directed by a Norwegian director named Ovredal. It's written by Aaron Goldberg and Rich Nighting or something. And so an unidentified corpse, played by Owen Kelly. How would you like to be this, a corpse in a film? Focus on your weird dead-looking face for half that time. She's found in a bizarre crime scene she's half buried in, and the people who are murdered look like they want to escape, rather than everyone, and the sheriff thinks this is a really bizarre B&E when everyone is really trying to escape here. So then, small town coroner Tommy Tilden, played by Brian Cox, and his son Austin, played by Emile Hirsch, are then given this corpse, and the sheriff says, okay, I want this figured out in 24 hours, tell me what happened here, I want to know why. These two are experts in demonstrating how and why things are the way they are. They have like this huge chalkboard of how these murders happen, or how each parts of the body are afflicted when they die, basically here. These two obviously do have a strange sense of humor, including when Austin's girlfriend comes over. There's a prank involving a corpse and a bell, which I think is pretty funny. You need a very dark sense of humor to be a mortician sometimes, that's what at least I would think. Of course, when they start autopsying this Jane Doe, weird things begin to happen, the lights flicker. Again, a storm suddenly happens, the radio goes berserk. Apparently one time they light the corpse on fire and it doesn't burn at all, which is practically amazing here. Here's the thing, folks, this year hasn't particularly been a strong year for horror, at least that's my opinion. I still think the best film of the horror genre this year is The Conjuring 2. I just feel like saying the horror genre really is now a shiny object, and that there are a couple of good horror films each year, but the vast majority of them make our box office buck in the first 2 weeks, then they'll slowly trail off, and then the next horror film can come along and they can make their money. The horror genre now is a director's medium, in which it's basically the hot young guy who comes to reinvent. Very few directors stay within this genre or try to improve it. So again, this is an atmospheric horror film. I think Cox and Hirsch do some of the best work in several years. I think we get to understand these coroners pretty bit, what it takes to be a coroner, what you have to do to become a coroner, or at least in how the process of how you autopsy a body is pretty evident here, I guess. And these two coroners see horror on a daily basis, so basically they would obviously feel comfortable in a horror film autopsying the corpses of dead teenagers. So this is the English language debut of Andres Ovredal. He did a film a few years back called Troll Hunter, which is like a found footage troll hunter film about trolls, obviously. You obviously remember the who, what, when, where, and why. Well, we obviously get that with Jane Doe here, and it's like, yes, I'm willing to accept what happened to Jane Doe here, who is Jane Doe here, and why this is happening to these coroners specifically. I'm willing to buy that. If you can't buy that, I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to understand your concerns as to why you can't buy them, but I at least did. And of course, this obviously has a very odd ending that I won't spoil. So in the end, folks, I think The Autopsy of Jane Doe is a fine way to go out on a 2016 that wasn't very great for horror. I mean, there are a couple of them, yes, that I think were fine in and of itself, but the vast majority of them was really a wasteland. I'm sorry to say that, that's how I feel. So what I'm going to do, The Autopsy of Jane Doe is a, leave work early type of deal. Clearly you should see this film. I think it's because it's atmospheric, it's moody. So folks, what was your favorite horror film this year? What was your least favorite horror film this year? Put that in the comment section, folks, below. Yeah, folks, you're awesome. So folks, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to see this fresh face again, click here to see more. Yeah, see you later time, folks. Yeah.